Hello, friends. Welcome to a lovely chat with Anne Finucane of Bank of America. This is part, as you know, of Climate Week New York City, where you're being brought bite-sized interviews with some of the key, really most influential people, organizations, and businesses who are leading on climate. And this is a lead up to Climate Week New York City, which you know is being hosted this September. Today, we're talking with Bank of America, and I'm truly delighted to be here with Anne Finucane, who's vice chairman at Bank of America, also serves as chairman of the board of Bank of America Europe, and is what we all need to know, and we all do know, is a true leader on climate and so many other things. Very quickly, Bank of America is one of the world's leading financial institutions. They work with consumers, small and middle market businesses, as well as with large corporations with a full range of banking, investing, asset management, and other financial and risk management products. I do want to highlight, in 2021, Bank of America set, and I would call it a whopping, an impressive $1.5 trillion sustainable finance goal, and to get there by 2030 in their efforts to deploy, to mobilize, and to scale capital for both environmental transitions and social inclusive development purposes. An impressive goal, to be sure. I look forward to hearing more about this from Anne. Anne, it's great to see you, and I think we will just jump in.
Good to be with you, Mindy. Thanks.
Great. So Anne, we've talked a lot about what the bank does. You are clearly an impressive leader. Under your guidance and under your leadership, I believe Bank of America has made a number of commitments related to reducing the bank's environmental footprint, as well as that of your clients and supply chain. How is all of this going? How are these things progressing?
Well, they're going well, but as you know, the challenges are enormous. I don't mean so much for the bank, but in the more macro sense. So we were able to achieve in our own operations, scope 1 and 2 carbon neutrality in 2019. We committed to be net zero by 2050 and to make real inroads by 2030. And that's really what this $1.5 trillion commitment was about. And I have to tell you that even just a few years ago, I couldn't have imagined that we would even entertain such a number. And so much has changed just in the last 2 years that it gives me hope for the following years. And what I mean by that is, for instance, we had made a commitment that we thought we could finance about $300 billion worth of climate activity on behalf of our clients over the next 10 years. We made that commitment just a few years ago. And in that time period, as recently as 6 months ago, we met with our lines of businesses we do periodically to say, you know, in light of progress that's been made, what could be done? What more could we do? So a few years ago, the prospect of electric cars was, I'd say, nascent at best. And today, with the automotive industry talking about factory floors that will be transformed, that allows the retail bank, the consumer bank, not just ours, but every bank, to think in terms of, okay, then we're going to be financing electric car vehicles, not traditional gas cars. So that's just an indication. That's a small indication. The other is, and probably the biggest thing that happened in the industry, is in us all, the top 6 banks in America, who are all global banks, committing to be net zero. That means that all of our clients have to be net zero. In order for us to achieve net zero, all our clients have to be there. And I don't know if people understood that, but that means working with each of our clients to first get to carbon neutrality and then eventually to get to net zero. And that undertaking is huge, but it means enormous growth that we never would have imagined just a few years ago.
Impressive, to be sure, and that is key for the listeners. This is not only about what is Bank of America doing within its own buildings. Your building in New York City is a model green building, but your own footprint. The key in the banking sector clearly is the footprint of clients. So the fact that B of A has made that commitment really is enormous, and we'll look forward to seeing the results, but no doubt that's the kind of effort that will make a difference. So we've seen you all at Bank of America look at sustainability holistically in how you finance, how you bring together the environment, economic opportunity, and racial equality in your Equality Progress Sustainability Bond. Where do you see the overlap on issues like climate change and racial equality? And how can the finance industry help to ensure that these issues are merged, are married, that we've got a just transition?
Well, this is well beyond notional. I mean, it is a reality. Just using climate as an example, who is most affected by drought, food scarcity, water scarcity, elevated temperatures, fires? First of all, it's usually those in low and moderate income communities in the US, and certainly in the developing world. It's women and children. So I think that it is clear that this is one and the same, or at least a continuum. And that's how we're seeing it, that we have to come up with practical solutions that look at climate in the holistic manner, that it really is going to affect all of us. And certainly the work that has come out of, and the reports that have come out of the last few years, and then the last few months, if you didn't think it before, I think we have gained the attention of the world, and it has become less political and more immediate.
I think your integration of climate and justice and other issues is crucial, and great to see you leading on that. Given what we just confirmed, that climate change is here, it's now, it really is about how do we get to that net zero point. You talked a little bit about that in the Financial Times article. Could you give us a sense of what are some of the elements, policies we need to put in place to really address the urgency of climate change and make sure we are able to get to that net zero future that you're talking about?
Yes, and I think we all have to operate off the same chassis. So over time, I think it begins with the European taxonomy, the regulations. This is making its way through the UK, and I think there will be some semblance of that, probably not legislatively, but by executive order and otherwise in the US. But I think we can get into one taxonomy. As far as the financial services industry goes, I think we all need to join the Net Zero Banking Alliance as we have, and some other accounting rules that are make it all consistent. As far as offsets go, and I know they're controversial, but my feeling about offsets is simply this. As we bring through all of our clients to first be carbon neutral, and they do a review of their operations, and they do an audit, and they make the changes necessary that take a few years to happen, there is not yet enough renewable resources to get you all the way there to 100%. And so for that last mile, if we could use the offsets, so you need an offset. So if you could use the offsets instead, if we could combine the efforts of all the companies that need to do this with complete transparency, with some framework that it can only be a certain percent, it needs to be diminished each year, and it eventually has to be phased out, all of that would be fine. But if we could use that effort of offsets, instead of doing a series of bespoke efforts, if we can combine the capital that it was required, couldn't we help to do more in the area of first loss or concessionary capital to stand up things in the developing world, or research or technology that doesn't have an immediate return? So I'm just looking at, are there big swings we could take that could put real capital into this world to accelerate this effort? And that's my thinking around this. I think other people think it would be a good thing to do. And honestly, some of this exists today with in those markets, at least I'll use the US, California, or Reggie here in the Northeast, where there are compliance issues and one has to get carbon credits and one has to essentially make a trade or do something to ameliorate anything that would go over your limit. It's essentially the same thing. I'm just thinking that we could use this capital, combine it, and put it towards something that was for the greater good.
Great, and it is controversial, but I think your route of travel of making sure that offsets are transparent, that they're really additive, that there's enough structure to them to make sure they're helping the problem and not hurting it, is exactly the way we need to be thinking. Let me close by asking you a slightly more personal question, and hardly not too personal. Your leadership comes from both a professional and a personal place. You've been a leader in this space for several decades. What does it mean to you now in this moment in time? What do you think we can expect from the COP26 later this year, and what's making you hopeful?
Well, what makes me most hopeful about COP26 is I think we're pulling the curtain back and people have to declare what they're doing, not what they're going to do, but what they're doing. And I am so thrilled that the US has come back with a vengeance in terms of a real commitment to climate change, both through Special Envoy John Kerry, Gina McCarthy, Jennifer Granholm, and the president himself. I think that is very encouraging. I also think it's encouraging that the capital markets see this as an opportunity because, frankly, I think we can accelerate activity. And as long as we operate with transparency, with a common taxonomy, and hopefully with a common understanding of what's acceptable, I see real progress available now, not in the years to come, because as you said to begin with, Mindy, the problem is now.
Great, and thank you, Anne. I mean, we are getting bombarded with bad news. Having a sense of optimism, which is clear, which is real, and coming from you is quite uplifting, I'm sure, for many people. So many thanks for what you've done and for your thoughts. Let me just let folks know that there'll be another chance to hear about Bank of America's work during Climate Week. Alex Liffman will be part of a tracking finance panel, the crucial role of investors and financiers in the climate decade. That will be taking place Wednesday, September 22nd, from noon until 1:15. For now, heartfelt thanks, Anne, for all that you've done over the last number of years and for your continued leadership on these crucial, really crucial life issues of climate change, justice, and racial equity. Thank you.
And Mindy, may I thank you just for not only your leadership, but your counsel to the company and to me, because that's really what it takes now. It takes an openness to have hard dialogues, not always fully agree, but find places that we can agree and then just push forward. So thank you for that.
Great. Okay, folks, onward.